Hey everyone, I wanted to talk to you today about emerging leaders. An emerging leader in our vision is anybody that's working or serving in a local church or ministry that shows the potential promise of a call of God on their life for more. We've got a great process in place now we put a lot of work into to help these leaders become healthy, multiplying ministers in our network. I've been praying for our churches regularly, section by section. I find myself praying, God, help every church raise up emerging leaders at a level that I could personally name at least one person in every church. There's actually a couple sections I can do that, but most of them I can't. So where are these people going to come from? Well, our recent class of emerging leaders that just became ministers at our Multiply Council can teach us that there really is no limits or boundaries. There was one minister who's retired and in their 70s, but still very active in ministry. One came from our largest church of almost 2,000 members, but standing right next to him was another minister that came from one of our smallest churches of under 10 people. We had people from every region and from both mountain and central time zone. I believe every church can do this. Now, you may have your doubts. There's two main concerns that have come up as I've talked about this with others. The thought that if these leaders become credential ministers, they'll leave our church for other opportunities, and they'll also tithe to the network, so we'll lose them and their money. Now, both of those are very situational and may not even be a bad thing. But that way of thinking sounds a lot like the wicked servant from the parable of the talents I preached about at the Multiply Council, who hid their talents in the sand because he was afraid to lose them and make a mistake. I certainly don't want any of us to identify with that type of behavior. Instead, I'm finding as churches are mobilizing their people around the Multiply initiatives of new leaders, new missions, and new churches, their people and their churches are waking up. They're serving more, they're risking more, they're getting more involved, they're being more generous. Behaviors of worship and prayer and serving are on the rise. It could be the thing we're scared to do is the very thing we need to do to break through. So I want to encourage you, join me in this prayer. God, help me raise up emerging leaders in my church and in my ministry. And even if you can't think of anybody right now, soon I want to challenge you to find your best candidate and give them a chance to shine and see what God can do. The Bible is full of examples where God took the least likely individual and did the most amazing things for his kingdom. There's a promise from Psalms 34. I was a nobody, but I prayed and God saved me from all of my troubles. If God can do that for you and for me, he can certainly do it for anybody in our state as well. Now, there's two final things. We have some great Nebraska schools of ministry scattered throughout the network, functioning out of our local churches. Each of these are providing the avenues to complete the educational requirements that the credentials need. So please, when your emerging leaders are ready, point them to these schools as a first option. And speaking of credentials, the renewal season is almost here. And I found out recently there's a new question on the form. Have you watched the values added videos that Doug Clay has made available to our network? This is new, it's not a requirement. No action will be taken, however you answer it, but I want you to be aware that they're there. So we do have a link to these videos that will be in the body of this update email. Please check them out when you get a chance. Hey, remember, always walk holy, work hard, and worship him. And one final thing, I do want to personally say thank you to the pastor that gave a chance to an emerging leader like me so many years ago. Thank you, Gary. We'll see you next time.